Hey guys, here for Miles Morales Chapter 9. Just got done recording Ghost Chapter 3. At the beginning of this one, you'll see me trying to figure out if I want to read this one or this one first. I went ahead and read Ghost Chapter 3. I was just saying in my other video that it's hard to find time, it's in November. Still moved into a new place and still getting things unpacked and just getting situated, have a baby, and also if you know anything about teachers and schools and stuff like that, there's just a lot going on in November with report cards, um, all sorts of stuff, right? So, yeah, so that's it. Thanks for staying with us, sticking with us this long. It's been over a year now, and I'm sure like the new people who have found these Miles Morales videos are looking forward to the next chapters. A lot of you have probably moved on. Hopefully, you went out and bought your own copies of the books or rented it from a library and finished it up yourself. So again, we are going through Ghost, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Jason Reynolds. Hopefully we get this done before the new Spider-Man movie comes out. What do you guys think? Have you guys seen the trailer? I'm super excited for it. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and I do think maybe we'll see a Miles Morales cameo. One of his powers is turning invisible, and there is a shot of the lizard getting punched out of nowhere. I'm thinking maybe that might be Miles Morales. I don't know. It's pure speculation. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let's go. Chapter 9. I'm going to break this up into two parts so that this is not going to be a crazy long video. So I'll start tonight and then I'll upload the other one sometime next week. Sometime within the next couple days. All right? So happy Thanksgiving to you all who celebrate Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be thankful for, even in the midst of craziness, right? Okay, without further ado, Chapter 9. You don't know me, I know you, Miles' father yelled playfully down the hallway. Miles woke up, his heartbeat beating like a wild animal trying to break free from his chest. If you come, Rio, Miles is gonna come home with cuts in his eyebrows and parts all over the place. Ha, Jeff, this isn't the 90s. Kids ain't getting cuts in the eyebrows anymore. That's not the point. The point is, you would let the boy do whatever he wanted. Well, that's because it's his hair, Poppy. Yes, I know. Knock, knock, knock. Miles, get up, man. We need to get you a haircut before we head up to the jail. Miles' father continued down the hall. Yes, baby, I know, but he goes to that school, and I just don't want them saying nothing like crazy about our boy. Let's just keep it clean until summer. Then I don't care if he shaves off all his eyebrows. Why you keep talking about eyebrows? Good morning, Miles said to himself, his hands covering his face as his eyes adjusted to the sun pouring in through the window. But one eye wouldn't open. He rubbed it and rubbed it until it watered, but the tears still didn't flush out whatever it was. He went to the bathroom using 2 fingers to pull the skin around his eye in either direction. He used his other hand to pick out whatever was in his eye. He held it up in front of the mirror, a long white hair, which led to a long hot shower, but not long enough before his mother was banging on the bathroom door. Miles, we have to pay for that hot water. And, Miles, your father's getting impatient. And you know what that means? That meant that Miles' father would eat Miles' breakfast just out of spite. Eventually, Miles shook off the strange nightmare, finished scalding his skin, got dressed, scarfed down breakfast, eggs and microwave waffles, kissed his mother, watched his father, kiss his mother, then set out for Saturday mission number 1, the barbershop. All right, hold on. Let's rewind. It has been a while since we saw this, right? So it seemed like we left off the end of chapter 8, and there was a dream. So for those of you who just watched the video or just recently read chapter 8, you probably are more familiar. It's been a month for me. All right, so let's see. The dream had Mr. Chamberlain looking back at him, ghostly figure, long white hair hanging from his chin, sharpened nose, teeth like corn kernels, saying Spider-Man, you don't know me, but I know you. Okay, so that's why the chapter started with, you don't know me, I know you. He said, and the voice said to him, and I will come for you. Interesting. All right, back to the story. Listen to what I'm saying to you. No, you listen to what I'm saying to you. I've been coming here since I was a kid, and now you got me paying $30 for a daggone cut? House. A number one with a shave, $30? Well, that's 15 for a cut, 15 for a shave, 10 for kids, and 8 for geniuses. House nodded at Miles. Uh-huh. Robbery, the complainer groaned. Robbery? You know what? Y'all jokers kill me. Michael Jordan said, today I've decided to charge 300 smackers for my sneakers, and y'all don't never have a problem buying those spaceships for shoes. Out here looking like your feet are in the future and the rest of your dusty buttons still in the hood. But the 1 minute House, the owner of House's cut shop, put a finger in the air. The 1 minute I raised the price on haircuts, everybody whining and crying. Not to mention, ain't nobody getting their butts whipped over a fresh fade. He was cutting the hair of a man dressed in construction clothes, dirty jeans, and clay-caked boots. He ran the clippers over his head, hair rolling off in clumps, snowflaking to the floor. Look, I just feel like there's got to be loyalty discount. The man barking about the prices was sitting next to Miles and his father. He looked like one of those guys who was pushing 50 but played pickup basketball with hack boxes like Benji and Mucus Man every weekend to keep him young. Loyalty? House turned the clippers off and pointed at them at the man. You don't know nothing about loyalty. If I don't charge you what I do, then I can't make the rent on this place. Are you going to call me and invite me over to your deluxe apartment in the sky for me to touch up your hairline and shave your face? You suckers talk all this trash like New York City ain't the new Disney World. And when was the last time Mickey Mouse offered you a free pass into that castle thing or whatever the hell they got down there, huh? Never. Man, just hurry up so the rest of us can get a cut. Always talking. Oh, you gonna get cut, all right. Keep yapping. Plus, you know the deal. Either wait or skate. You after Shorty? 40 over there. Anyway, House was talking about Miles. Y'all know why I call him that? Because he always gets 4.0. One of the smartest people in the whole hood, and definitely the smartest in this barbershop. Mr. Frankie, whose jeans were covered in paint splotches, was playing chess with Derek, one of the younger barbers, who didn't have any clients at this point in the day. He usually cut the little kids' hair because he knew how to do a funny helium-toned voice that always made them stop crying. And they didn't start coming in until after 11. Miss Shine was also in there. She had a mini bush that always came to house to get it trimmed down. My Cyrus was a 4.0 student back in the day. The biggest nerd y'all ever wanted to meet, Miss Shine said, a shaky sweetness for her voice. Let that be a lesson to you, Miles. Leave that dope alone. Yes, ma'am, Miles answered. Miss Shine nodded and pinched her lips. Where's old Cyrus these days? House asked. Ain't seen him. Miss Shine stared blankly. Me neither. A while ago, cops came to the house and took him away. I ain't heard from him since. But I figured he's better off in there than he was out here. At least in there, maybe he can get some help. Get clean. Yeah, Miles' father said. I'm sure he's okay. Then silence. The discomfort seemed to lower from the ceiling of the shop. Finally, House spoke up. You know who else I hadn't seen? Backseat Benny. Who? Miss Shine snapped out of her trance of sadness. Benny, the homeless dude who sleeps in the car around the corner. He used to come here and I'd give him a cut in exchange for him sweeping up the hair. Oh, yes. I didn't know that was his name. I used to leave coffee cans full of cookies on the trunk on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I haven't seen him. Me neither, Derek said, moving his queen to the other side of the chessboard. I've seen him, Frankie said. Maybe 2 weeks ago. He was getting yanked out of his car and thrown in the back of a paddy wagon. What'd he do? House asked, swiping the smock from around the construction worker's neck and brushing the extra hair from his sweatshirt. I have no idea, Frankie said, but that was the last time I saw him. Miles thought of the poem he had written for Miss Blauhouse's class about backseat Benny, disappearing men. He'd been there for so long, yet so few people knew his name. Same went for Neek. He rarely left his house, so if you didn't live across the street from him, where you could see him peering through the blinds, you'd never even know he was there. And Cyrus Shine was a zombie most days, ignored by most people. Invisible men would have fit just as well. The whole barbershop broke into a fit of head shaking, and afterward the conversation rolled on as usual. House sprayed sheen on the construction worker's hair, the smell of coconut and vanilla filling the air. Then House used his hand to lay the man's waves before holding up the mirror up in front of his face. The man nodded, paid, tipped, and left. "Shorty 40, you up?" House said, slapping hair from the barber chair. As soon as Miles sat down, his father blurted, "Low Caesar, a number 1. Nothing special, please." "Whoa, relax, Jeff. Why are you acting like I never cut his hair before? When he sit in the chair, you turn it off, I turn it on," House said. "Anyway, how's school, Miles?" "It's okay. It sucks." "You figure out how to build a teleportation device yet?" "I wish somebody would." Derek moved Knight to jump on. "Nah, not yet," Miles said. "I'm just trying to stay focused and get up out of there. Also, I think my teacher might be trying to kill me." He didn't say that. That's not in the quotations there, but is what he's thinking. "I know that's right," the argumentative man next to him said. "I want House to stay focused because I'm trying to get up out of here." And it went on. The chatter about haircut prices, the gossip about how much so-and-so sold their house for and how much the new house down south cost. The occasional pumping of the radio volume whenever one of House's jams came on. Offbeat 80s tunes that were used for hip-hop samples, as Miles' father always liked to remind him. And the feeling of the plastic guard gliding over Miles' head, hair falling in his face, the hot blade on his neck, and then on his forehead, and the familiar sound of the buzzing in his ear. When the cut was complete, Miles' father stood up to pay, but Miles pulled out what was left of the money from the ridiculous Showtime moment on the train the day before. "I got it," he said to his father, counting out the ones. "Are you stripping, son?" House asked. Derek and the madman both laughed. Miss Shine turned away to hide her grin. "No, better not be," Miles' father added. "I'm not." Miles slammed the money in House's palm. "But I do need a job, and since Benny is missing, arrested, maybe I can come sweep on Saturday?" House nodded, still holding Miles' hand, the money smashed between their palms. "What you charge? $10 an hour and free cuts for me and him?" House looked over at Miles' dad, who looked on. "What are you, 13? Miles flashed to Mr. Chamberlain's class, him on the floor at the broken desk. 13. Except as a punishment for crime. 16, Miles' father answered for him, jolting Miles back into the barbershop. "I know, but he's brutal like a 13-year-old. My grandson's in the 8th grade, and he tries to hustle me every time I see him." House scratched his chin. "How about $8.50 and free cuts for you?" "Deal." Miles' father jumped in again, unable to control himself. "He'll start next week." "Great, glad we got that settled." The back talker from the earlier grumped, "Now can y'all please get out of the way so this fool can cut my hair." Time for Saturday mission number 2. Visiting Austin. The ride to the prison consisted mostly of Miles' father talking loudly over early 90s rap music about how happy he was to see him take some initiative and ask House for a new job, and how he and his brother started trying to make money for themselves at Miles' age too, but that they did it illegally. Meanwhile, Miles was texting Genki. 11:51 to Genki. "Yo, you made it through dinner okay?" 11:52, one message from Genki. "I'm still alive, no tears." "If only we were as smart as you, Miles. Nothing wrong with making money slow, son. Always remember that," Miles' father said. 11:54 to Genki. "Cool, headed to jail now." "You hear me, Miles? You listening?" his father asked. "Yes, I hear you. Money, slow," Miles said. 11:55 a.m. One new message from Genki. "Never ever text that again. It's like a jinx or something." Miles leaned forward, knocked on the wood panel that lined the dashboard in his dad's car. He wasn't sure it meant anything, but he would do it anyway. He would do anything, and he even felt a little stupid about it, but just in case, knock on wood. Almost an hour later, the car bumped onto Old Factory Road in the most barren part of Brooklyn Miles had ever seen. Lots of land, no big buildings. Well, one big building. They pulled up to the prison and were greeted by a big cement sign, Department of Corrections. Guards stood post outside the giant windowless block. There were cranes and bulldozers, cones and tape on one side of the building. "This place is always under construction. Shoot, I think they were working on it way back when me and Aaron used to pop in and out of here." Miles's father said. Miles's father explained. It was much smaller back then. He killed the engine. Miles couldn't stop fidgeting and tried to calm himself before going in. I need to reiterate that prison changes people. Oh, sorry. Alright, so this is Miles' father saying this. Before we go in here, I need to reiterate that prison changes people. So I don't want you to have high expectations or anything like that. Let's just meet him where he is. Miles nodded and reached for the door handle. And also, his father continued. Miles paused in the middle of opening his door. I know I mentioned this before, but I just need you to know that whatever happens, if he's related to us or not, I'm proud of you for wanting to come see him. You know, me and Aaron sat in juvie ward with no visitors. Our mother couldn't bear seeing us in jail. And our father was, Miles nodded, pushed his door open. So, I'm proud of you for caring, his dad finished. After walking through the metal detector and being scanned by the man the size of the metal detector, Miles and his father moved through the sterile check-in room to the clerk. Who are you here to see? She asked through a small window. Austin Davis. Sign in an ID, please. Miles and his father signed the clipboard perched on the ledge of the front of the window. Visitor name, visited date name. Date, time in. Miles' father slid his ID through the window. The lady made a copy and handed it back. Okay, Mr. Davis, somebody will be here to get y'all in a second. Sorry, but this is visiting time, right? Miles' father asked, looking around the empty room. Yes, it is, sir. Where is everybody? The lady behind the desk shook her head. Looks like you're it. Miles watched as his father looked around the gray room of nothing again. It was like he was examining the corners, the cameras, remembering what it felt like to be there. Miles wondered if his father was thinking about his brother going in and out for long after he'd given up that life, that his brother didn't have any visitors because he wouldn't come. On the ashen wall were 3 frames of signage aligned like expensive abstract art in a gallery. Miles took a closer look. The first in big, bold, black letters above the sheriff's star read, Kings County Department of Corrections. Important notice. Visitation schedule. Saturdays. Last name starting with letters A to L. Sundays. Last name starting with letters M to Z. The next one, was a layout of the rules. Parents. Visitors who appear intoxicated may be denied access to visitation. Visitors who are inappropriately dressed may be denied access to visitation. Parents must stay with their other visiting children at all times. No styling or braiding of youth hair in the visiting room. As Miles read on, his father walked up beside him and joined him in reading a long list of rules. Youth. Youth are not allowed to shake hands with any youth in the visiting area. No swearing. 0 gang tolerance. Dress appropriately. No slippers and pants pulled up to waist. No passing of letters, phone numbers, or mail. No loud talk. Finally, a startling buzz like an electrocution. Then, another. Then, a door opened and a guard stepped in. Davis, she said, her voice bouncing off the walls of the empty waiting room. This way, please. Miles and his dad went through the door, only to stop and wait for it to close completely before the next door opened. The clinking of the deadbolt jamming locked matched the scraping of the next door's lock pulling back, sent a chill down Miles' spine. Once the second door was open, they walked down the corridor, which strangely reminded Miles of the halls of his middle school. There was nothing but the sticky sound of rubbing, rolling off linoleum, and an occasional squeak. And before they knew it, Miles and his father were there, at the door to the visiting room. The guard pushed a buzzer and waited. A buzz came loud through a small speaker in the call box, followed by a deadbolt retracting. The guard swung the door open, entered first, then gestured for Miles and his father to join. It was an empty room, big enough for at least 20 people, and furnished with enough seating for that amount. But there was only one person there, besides another guard who was posted up against the wall. Miles guessed that guard's job was to escort Austin from his cell to the room and back. There was a boy sitting at one table, a matted afro, khaki uniform, his hands nervously tapping on the table. His skin on the face sagged with exhaustion, making him look older than he was. The guard who had escorted Miles and his father spoke with the other guard, then stood in the opposite corner. Austin? Miles' father called out, walking toward him, Miles right beside him. Miles' father extended his hand. No touching, Austin's escort snapped. That's right. Miles pulled his hand back, glancing back at the guard. I forgot. He and Miles sat down at the small table. Austin started. What do I call you? Miles just stared at Austin at his face. Look, that's not important. This is Miles. Austin looked at Miles. What's up, man? What's up? Miles said back, studying Austin's eyes. He wasn't looking for a tell. He wasn't looking for a tell. A break in some sort of disguise that wouldn't let him know that Austin wasn't who he said he was. Miles knew Austin was exactly who he said he was. That he was family. He knew it from the moment he entered the room. A balloon of awkwardness inflated around them. So, you're Uncle Aaron's son, huh? Miles asked, trying to burst out. Yeah. Miles' dad brushed his hand down his face. Can you just explain it to me? You just didn't know I existed, I know, Austin said. Look, we don't have a lot of time here, and y'all don't gotta stay if you don't want to. I just wanted someone else to know I was here. Someone else that was blood. My grandma, too. She's too old to be coming up in here. Okay, so my brother was your father, Miles' father said. But who was your mother? Her name was Nadine. Miles watched his father roll that name around his brain, trying to place it. Nadine? I don't remember a Nadine. Yeah, she and my father weren't together, but they stayed close, you know. And Miles said, she's dead. Sorry to hear. Yeah, me too. She was the best. You know how some people are just easy to love and you do anything for them? That's how she was. Yeah, Miles said, thinking about his own mother. There was a pause, a moment where everybody sized each other up. Look, kid, Austin, why are we here? Miles' father asked, in his pushy voice. I told you. But what do you want from me, from us? Austin leaned back in his chair. I don't want nothing. Ain't nothing you can give me. Except... Austin leaned forward again. Tell me you ain't never come around. Tell me why you ain't never come around. Miles' father hummed. Because me and your father didn't get along. So you just cut him off for almost 20 years? I had to. I don't know how much you know about Aaron, but I know what he was into. Well, then it should make sense that why I had to leave Aaron alone after I decided to get out of the game and realized he couldn't. Or should I say he wouldn't? But he did. What? Austin smirked, nodded. He did give it up. For a while. Austin looked at Miles. Did you know him? Miles looked at his father and thought about all the secret visits he had made to his uncle's house without his parents knowing. He thought about the pizza and the grape soda and the grimy apartment and the Baruch projects. He thought about the last time he saw him, the battle, the explosion. Kinda, but not really, Miles said, scratching the spider bite on top of his head. Well, he was cool, Austin said, regaining Miles' attention. A good dude who wanted to do right by people, but just, I don't know, when my mother was pregnant with me, my pops decided he was going to be a family man. That don't sound like Aaron, Miles' father said. Well, it was. My mother always said he watched how you straightened up once you got married and started a family and all that, and he felt like that was what he needed to do too. And he did. He got a regular job making dough at a pizza spot. And even though that wasn't a whole bunch of money, it was enough to add to the pot with my mom's to keep a roof over our heads. But then she got sick. Your mom? Miles asked. Yeah, stomach cancer. He had to stop working and all that, and after a while the money ran out. I don't know how much chemo and all that cost, but I know it's a lot. So my pops went back to the basics. Robbery? Austin winced a little when Miles said it. Yeah, everything he got he sold for money to pay her doctor's bills. At least, almost everything. He always kept a little to the side to buy me sneakers, which was cool, you know, but then he died. Miles readjusted in his seat, discomforting clinging to him like a wet cotton. So I picked up the slack, tried to lift that burden, just couldn't let my mother waste away without at least trying. I cut back on school, wasn't doing so great anyway, and teachers never seemed to bother to ask why. I figured stealing cars as a minor would be a slap on the wrist if I got caught. But when I did, they trumped my charges when they found out who my father was. So now I'm in here. Been in here for almost a year. And I can deal with it most days, but there are a few things that are just hard to shake. And one of them is the fact that my mother passed away the day I came in. That was another punch in the gut for Miles. And as he glanced at his now softening father, Miles figured a phantom fist of guilt had taken the air out of him too. I'm so sorry to hear that, Austin. Me too, Miles said. Yeah, me too. Austin forced a sad smirk. Miles had grown used to the painful smile because Genki did it often. 5 minutes, the guard called out. Her voice bouncing off the cold walls. Miles looked back at her and turned to Austin. What are some other things that are hard to do, hard to shake? Austin squinted. What? Miles. Miles could feel his father glare on the side of his face. He ignored him and continued. You said there were a few things that were hard to shake. One being, your mother. Miles swallowed. But what else? You don't have to answer that. Miles' father cocked his head to the side, looking at his son like he had lost his mind. What are you thinking? Miles didn't know how to answer that because he didn't really have an answer. He just knew that he was looking in the face of someone who looked just like him, who, for whatever reason, did what he thought he had to do, just like him, who loved his family despite their flaws, just like him. It's okay. Austin leaned forward, knit his fingers together, looked at Miles in the face. Sometimes I have nightmares. Been having them on and off for years, but since I've been in here, they've been worse. Now Miles leaned in. His father, however, leaned back. What kind of nightmares? Miles asked. Just crazy stuff. I mean, look, everybody locked up in here from some similar situation as mine. Either forced to act a certain way to survive or totally forgotten about. And they all look like me, like us, if you know what I mean. So sometimes in my dreams, everybody in this place changes. Like they all turn into something. Everybody but me. And they attack me. So when I wake up, I'd be looking crazy at them. Because my dreams have me thinking I can't trust nobody in here. Then other times, it's just simple stuff like baby nightmares. He lowered his voice and continued. Like that jerk over there telling me I ain't gonna be nothing. I ain't never gonna be nothing. Which ain't really much of a nightmare because he's always says that when I'm awake. Only difference is, in my dream, he got my daddy's voice. Jesus. Miles' father shook his head, visibly upset. You're just like me, Austin said. What? Miles backed away a bit. That's what he always says to me in my dream. You're just like me. Time, the guard yelled. Miles and his father stood up. Miles jumpy from what he had just heard, but extended his hand for 5, but remembered contact wasn't allowed. I feel like we were just getting to know each other. Well, if y'all don't come back, that's cool. Thanks for at least coming this time, Austin said, unable to hide his disappointment. Wait, one last question. We have to go. His father tapped him on the arm. I know, but this will be quick. What do all the other guys in here turn into in your dreams? Miles' father turned around to let the guard know they'd hurt her. All of Brooklyn had hurt her. Austin looked puzzled at the question. I don't know. White cats and crazy stuff like that. White cats? Miles repeated as his father, now gripping his arm, turned him around. Yeah, why? Well, come back to see you, okay? We'll come back to see you. Miles' father struggled to get out, cutting the conversation before they were barked at again by the guard. We will. And as they walked across the room, Miles turned to eyeball the officer coming to escort Austin back to his cell. His badge glinted under the fluorescent light. His name tag wasn't big enough for most people to see from where they were, but Miles could see it clearly. Chamberlain. Okay, so that's part 1 of chapter 9. We will finish this book soon, boys and girls. We will, okay? And if you're still here, great. And if you're new to the channel and you're just here for the first time, thank you for joining us. And I hope you enjoy being here with us. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat, leave them in the comment section. And I look forward to being with you again next time. Part 2 coming later this week, all right?